I was never the favorite child. Not even close. If there was a medal for least appreciated son, I'd have a whole shelf full. Growing up, it was always about my older brother, Aiden. He was the golden child, the one who got straight A's with tutors, played varsity soccer because dad donated to the team, and always made the family proud just by existing. Meanwhile, I was the one who fixed the leaking faucet without being asked, stayed up late helping mom when she was sick, and quietly paid the electric bill once when they forgot. But none of that ever counted. So when Aiden got engaged, I didn't expect to be front and center. I didn't even expect to be in the wedding party. What I didn't expect, what genuinely blindsided me, was being publicly humiliated by my own family in front of 200 guests. It was during the reception. Everyone was seated, and the MC called up family members to give little toasts. I hadn't been told I'd be speaking, but my cousin nudged me and whispered, "They probably saved you for last. You're the brother." I waited. Name after. Name was called. The DJ gave a cheesy joke. Laughter. More applause. Eventually, people started turning toward me. Some guests clearly assumed I was shy or nervous. So I got up. I took a few steps toward the small stage. The mic was right there, and I just wanted to say a few kind words to Aiden. Maybe a quick story from our childhood. Maybe even a moment of appreciation, even if I had to fake it. But just as I reached the edge of the stage, my mom stood up from her table, heels clicking loudly against the wooden floor, and said into the microphone, "No, no. Sit down, honey. You're not part of the speakers," she said it with a smile. That kind of fake, sugary smile you wear when you're saying something cruel, but want to make it seem polite. The room fell silent. A few people laughed awkwardly. Others looked down at their plates. I stood there, frozen, for about 3 seconds, too long before nodding and walking back to my table. My chair was now the loneliest island in a room full of people pretending not to notice. My dad didn't even look at me. He just raised his champagne flute toward Aiden and said, "To the real man of the family." I wanted to get up and leave. I should have, but I stayed. I sat through every toast, every dance, every fake smile from relatives who'd always treated me like background noise. I even stayed to the end, helped pick up gift bags, and hugged my mother goodbye while she barely acknowledged it. What they didn't know, what they never cared to ask, was that I had been building something. Quietly. Alone. At 17, I started. Doing freelance web development in secret because I knew I'd never get a cent for college from them. By 22, I had my own tiny software startup. By 25, I had real clients, real revenue, and enough saved up to lease a modest office space in downtown Chicago. No funding, no inheritance, no applause. But I remembered that night. That moment. My mother's voice. "You're not part of the speakers." That line became a loop in my head, so I worked harder. When I was 28, I got a call from a commercial real estate broker. A venue was going under, a beautiful old historic space that had hosted weddings, galas, and yes, even Aiden's wedding. The owners were desperate to sell. I bought it. No one knew. I didn't tell a soul. I renovated it, gave it a new name, and built a brand around luxury event hosting. My company used the space for launches and VIP demos. And then, irony of all ironies, I got a booking from someone I hadn't heard from in years, my brother's wife. Well, ex-wife now. The email read, "Hey, I'm planning Aiden's divorce party. I remember you were good with events. Do you still work in that area?" I laughed so hard, I had to reread it twice. Aiden was getting divorced, and his ex wanted to throw him a party at the venue I now owned. I didn't say no. I made the arrangements. I offered a special discount as a gesture of goodwill. She had no idea she was talking to the owner. That night, I watched the party through the one-way glass from the upper balcony. Aiden looked exhausted, thinner. His friends were half drunk and awkward. His parents didn't show up. The whole thing felt like a failed high school reunion. But I was there, in my own building, with a drink in hand, wearing the suit I'd bought with my first big contract. I didn't need revenge speeches. I didn't need applause. I already had everything I wanted. You'd think watching my brother's divorce party from above, like some poetic fly on the wall, would have brought closure. But it didn't. Not entirely. Because even though I had the upper hand now, the past still stuck to me like static, clinging, invisible, annoying. I didn't just want success. I wanted peace. I wanted to know that the way they treated me wasn't okay. That it was never okay. And that I didn't deserve to spend my entire childhood and young adulthood trying to earn scraps of love and recognition that should have been free. But I wasn't going to get it from them, so I buried myself in work. Running a business was fulfilling in a way my family never was. Every time I signed a new contract, hired a new staff member, or walked through one of the venues I owned, I reminded myself, they didn't build this. I did. Brick by metaphorical brick, this was mine. No fake smiles, no cheap applause. Just, now it results. Still, there were reminders. A few months after the divorce party, I ran into my dad, at all places, the parking lot of a hardware store. He didn't recognize me at first. I had grown a beard, put on muscle, and I wasn't wearing the awkward grin he used to see every time I begged for his approval. "Oh," he said after I waved. "Ethan." "Hey, Dad." There was a pause, long enough to be uncomfortable, but not quite long enough to walk away from. "Haven't seen you since Aiden's wedding," he said. Of course, that was the last time I was relevant enough to be noticed. "I heard you're doing something with computers," he asked. "I own a few venues now," I replied. "Software too, but mostly event properties." That caught his attention. "Event properties? Like halls?" "Yeah, I bought and renovated a few." He looked at me, really looked, for the first time in years. Like I was no longer the background character in his life. Like I might actually be someone. "You know," he said, scratching his head, "your uncle's retirement party is coming up. Maybe we could—" "I'm booked out, Dad," I said, "months in advance. But congrats to Uncle Mike." He forced a laugh, nodded and said, "Well, maybe next time. Good seeing you." I left him standing there in the sun, still holding his car keys, like he wasn't sure if he wanted to unlock the door or just stand in the past a little longer. That encounter was a shift. I started hearing from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Second cousins, old neighbors, even my mom, who suddenly texted me one day, "Hey, sweetheart, just wondering if you're free for dinner this weekend. Would love to catch up. Dad misses you." No apology, no mention of what she said on that stage. Just a casual dinner invite, like we were friends who hadn't seen each other in a while. Not family who had thrown me under the bus and driven over me. I didn't reply. But I kept the message, because that was my new scoreboard. Success wasn't just about money anymore. It was about reclaiming space. Mental, emotional, even physical. The same spaces they tried to kick me out of, I owned now. Not just legally, symbolically. And then came the news that tied everything into one final, neat circle. Aiden was trying to start a business, I found out from a former client of mine, a wealthy event planner, who told me she'd been approached by someone claiming to offer elite event packages for luxury clients. She forwarded me the email. It was from Aiden, and it was a copy-paste version of my business model. Almost word for word. My first instinct was to laugh. My second. Watch. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't need revenge. Life was taking care of that just fine. Aiden's business flopped within 6 months. Poor management, bad reviews. One client even sued him over a double-booked venue and fake promises. I didn't step in. I didn't gloat. I just kept growing. Until one day, Aiden himself reached out. It was surreal, opening that email. "Hey, Ethan, I know we haven't talked in a while. I could really use your help. Things have been rough lately, and I was wondering if you had any advice, or if you're hiring." There it was. The golden child. The chosen one. The one who got everything handed to him, asking the family disappointment for a job. I didn't reply immediately. I stared at the screen, wondering what younger me, the boy standing frozen on that wedding stage, would have done. Begged for attention. Bragged. But current me, I just felt calm. I didn't need revenge. I already had the only thing that mattered. Power. Not over them. Over myself. I wrote back 3 days later. Hey Aiden, appreciate the message. Unfortunately, I'm not hiring at the moment. Best of luck with everything. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't cold. It was just enough to remind him. You reap what you plant. And while he had been handed everything only to throw it away, I had built my life from nothing. No spotlight, no stage, just bricks and patience. Months passed after I turned Aiden down. The silence from him and my parents was louder than any apology could have been. But I wasn't waiting for one. My life had shifted. What once revolved around family approval now orbited something entirely different. Self-worth, clarity, and peace. Still, peace has a funny way of being interrupted. One late afternoon, I got a call from Mia, an old high school friend who had worked in catering during my early events. She was now a wedding planner in her own right, and we often exchanged clients. Ethan, she said, you won't believe who just booked one of your venues. I was driving, Bluetooth on. Who? Your parents, for your brother's divorce party. I almost hit the brakes right there on the freeway. You're joking. Nope. They went through my assistant, so I don't think they realize this venue is yours. They booked the Auburn estate for next month. Full package. Open bar, DJ, the whole deal. I couldn't help but laugh. A hollow, amused, what are the odds kind of laugh. The Auburn estate was my most expensive property. Elegant, modern, with a massive fountain and glass ballroom that people literally fought over for bookings. It was also the very first venue I ever purchased when I got my first big investment win. I knew every inch of it. Mia hesitated. Do you want me to cancel the booking? I paused. No, let them come. Seriously? Seriously. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about revenge or even poetic irony. This was about standing in the middle of everything they tried to keep me out of, and not needing to say a word. When the day arrived, I didn't dress up. No suit, no gold watch. Just a clean black button-up, dark jeans, and calm confidence. I showed up halfway through the party, when the music was loud, and the cocktails were flowing, and the freedom jokes were flying like confetti. My parents didn't see me at first, but Aiden did. He froze mid-conversation with some friend of a friend, his drink halfway to his lips. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. I gave him a nod. Not a smirk, not a glare, just a calm, neutral nod. My mom saw him staring and turned. Her eyes landed on me. She blinked, confused. Ethan! I raised my hand in a casual wave. Evening. She walked toward me, drink in hand, fake smile already plastered on. What are you doing here? I looked around. Well, I figured since I own the place, I should at least see how my staff's doing. That wiped the smile clean off her face. My dad came over too. What do you mean, you own it? Check the paperwork. The LLC is under my holding company. Always has been. You paid the invoice to me, technically. They both stared like I had just spoken Latin. So, this is your venue? Dad asked. Yep. You let us rent it? Why not? Business is business. Aiden slowly walked up, holding his glass like it might protect him. You're enjoying this, aren't you? He muttered. I looked him in the eye. I don't need to enjoy it. I've already lived through the worst part. This is just the echo. He didn't reply. None of them did. For the first time, I could actually feel them calculating everything, realizing how far they'd pushed me away, how much I'd built without them, and how strange it was that their name meant nothing. Here, they didn't own the space. They didn't know the staff. They were guests, and I was the host. As the night went on, I made no announcements, no toasts, no big show. I simply walked through the event as a quiet observer, shaking hands with the DJ, chatting with my head of operations, checking lighting placements, like it was just another night, just another booking, because that's what it was. They weren't special anymore. After the party, I left before they did. I didn't want a confrontation. I didn't need a thank you. I drove home, windows down, music low. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I wasn't chasing validation, or recognition, or even closure. I had passed all those exits. I was just moving forward. A few weeks after the divorce party, I got a letter in the mail. Yes, a literal letter, not a text, not an email. My mom's. Handwriting, neat and tight as always. It was short, polite, almost cold. She wanted to discuss things in person, as a family. No apology, just an invitation. Like we were acquaintances meeting for coffee. I didn't respond. Not because I hated them. I didn't. That would have taken too much effort. I was just done trying to translate my pain into something they could understand. But then, something unexpected happened. Aiden showed up, at my office, unannounced. He waited in the lobby of one of my smaller venues until my assistant buzzed me. I almost told her to send him away. Almost. But curiosity, or maybe closure, got the better of me. When I walked into the lounge, he stood up, clearly nervous. "Ethan," he said, "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see." I said nothing, letting the silence sit between us. He took a breath. "I messed up. Bad. I know that. Still nothing from me." He fidgeted with his watch. "You were always the one who saw things clearly. I didn't want to admit it." I was scared of looking weak to Mom and Dad. They made me feel like I had to play this role, be the golden child. I raised an eyebrow. "So you threw me under the bus to keep your spotlight?" He nodded, shame heavy in his posture. "I know. I lost everything. The marriage, the business, the respect I thought I had. And honestly, I deserve it." He paused. "But I need help." There it was, that familiar ask. I leaned against the table. "Why come to me?" "Because you're the only one who actually built something. You turned nothing into something real. And because deep down, I know you're not cruel. You don't kick people when they're already down." I tilted my head. "You sure about that?" He smiled sadly. "Not really, but I'm hoping." I studied him for a long moment. A year ago, maybe even a few months ago, I would have relished this moment. I would have replayed every insult, every time they made me feel invisible. I would have rubbed this power in his face. But now I saw a man who had finally lost enough to look inward. I didn't forgive him. Not then. But I offered him a deal. "I won't hand you anything," I said. "But if you're serious about rebuilding, I'll get you in touch with someone. One shot. If you screw them over, don't come back to me." He nodded quickly, relief flooding his face. "Thank you. You won't regret it." "We'll see." He left quietly. No handshake. Just a quiet nod of gratitude. Weeks turned into months again. I heard he was working at a small venue out of state, trying to learn things from the ground up. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't Instagram-worthy. But it was real. As for my parents, we remained distant. They tried here and there to reach out. Holiday cards, birthday messages. I responded politely, nothing more. Not because I held a grudge, but because I didn't want to rebuild something that was broken from the beginning. You don't glue back shattered glass and pretend it was never cracked. Eventually, I met someone outside all of this. She didn't care about family politics or golden child drama. She just cared about who I was now. Grounded, self-made, a man who had walked through fire and come out clean. We got engaged after 2 years. And you know what? I didn't invite my parents to the wedding, not out of revenge. Not even out of bitterness, but because I finally understood something. Closure doesn't always come from fixing broken things. Sometimes it comes from building something better and never looking back. And as we stood in one of my venues, under lights I chose, surrounded by people who saw me for who I truly was, I felt something I never thought I would. Free.